MLR briefing for Thursday. We'll start with the euro. Euro did extend lower. We've traded down all the way to the 29.30s, 40s area. And you can see we have expanded our delta volume distributional range. So the market was driven lower predominantly by newly initiated sellers. So the volume distribution has expanded, which is common in a new contract. As the contract matures, you get volume expansion on one side of the distribution or the other, and sometimes both, week to week as the market cycles between rallies and sell-off periods. So euro continues the breakdown. We had that second run-up. That second high retest got rejected in that 31.80s area where we had the extreme out of balance. The markets come all the way to the other end of the volume distribution. Had extreme out of balance. I mentioned yesterday that will probably bounce some. Market did bounce, then got sold into midday yesterday through the after-hours session, through the EU session, and we've traded down now as low as the 29.30s, 40s. Market is back. We're predominantly holding short inventory by participants and very small amount of long inventory. Probably about 97-98% of participants are holding short positions and only about 2 to 3% holding long. So we're still at a pretty extreme out of balance open interest ratio. So I would not be surprised to see euro every time it runs out of inventory re-challenging this 29.30s, 40s area, maybe to get a little bit of trade lower, but to continue to have bounces back into the range. Now, if we do get a catalyst that's something negative to the euro and we continue to draw in newly initiated sellers, then the euro can drive much lower and you'll see delta expand its delta volume distributional range lower. If there's any catalyst to the upside, now with this market so heavily short, we could very easily get short covering and get driven back up deeper into the previous range, maybe back to the 1.3000s level or above. So we'll be watching euro today, but euro continues to break down. For the S&P Emini, it was able to break down into a lower range as we had the Eurodollar selling off and US dollar rallying some. We have EU markets sold off a bit last night, EU cash markets, and as a result, S&P was driven lower following that action, down trading to the 1445s. ES, of course, itself let go of that last held long inventory that's been trying to hang on for a few days. We bounced once, we came down, let go of all that inventory, so we were extreme out of balance, had a slight bounce. This was in the evening session, and then since then we've been driven lower on predominantly newly initiated sellers. So our delta volume distribution has expanded to the downside, and that did contribute to this newly initiated selling bias, contributed to our trade down to the 1445s. Since then we bounced a bit, probably some of those that are short from above doing some covering and some slight newly initiated buying trying to get directionally long ahead of the day's US cash session open. So that's where we are in the ES. Predominance of those holding open interest are short, and very, very few holding long positions. Those of significant position size that hold significant positions are just not holding very much long inventory. So here's the ES bounced up off of its recent low at a very extreme open interest ratio. Would not be surprised to see ES stay in this area for a while through the early part of the morning. But if Eurodollar keeps breaking down on the day during the US cash session as US dollar is rallying, I would not be surprised to see equities doing some selling, and that could contribute to additional newly initiated sellers chasing that equity sell program action, helping to drive the ES lower again. If we get some sort of catalyst during the day, something that's happening that's getting US equities in as buyers, then of course ES could lift easily. We'll get short covering that will help drive any upside rallies back into the range. So that's where we are in the ES. Expanded its price action range a bit lower, starting to chip below a recent range we were stuck in, and we did let go of all the inventory again, all long inventory. Significant held long inventory did unwind, and we did get delta volume distribution expansion to the downside. So that's where we're at with ES. We do have some overhead, some very slight overhead resistance levels now at the 1454s. Still holding some inventory off the 1459s, 58s area, and then all the other levels from prior. ES now holding just a very small amount of long inventory here now developed off the 1445s, 46s area, not very much. And that's where the ES sits here just prior to going into the US cash session open today.